Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Iconic Dollcast. My name is Sage, and your host. Welcome back to another episode all about dolls. Thank you for tuning in. Today, I am joined once again by my good friend and Spice Girl expert, Joe Richards, and we're going to be talking all about the Hannah Montana doll. This one has been a long time coming, and I'm so ready for it. The year is almost over, and this is actually my last, I guess you could say, like traditional episode of the year. I have a couple more things coming, and they're a little bit different than what I usually do here on the Iconic Dollcast, so stay tuned for that. I'm also hard at work on my next set of episodes for the next year, for the new year is what I meant to say. Like I said in the last episode, I'm not sure when new episodes will start dropping, but it's gonna be great. I can't wait. We're gonna get right into the interview, but as always, please follow me on all the social medias, Instagram, Britney Spears Custom Dolls, or Iconic Dollcast. Follow me on TikTok at Britney Spears Dolls. And here is my chat about Hannah Montana dolls with Joe Richards. Okay, everyone. Today I have Joe Richards back on the show, and Joe is one of my favorite friends to have on. Joe is a big Spice Girls collector and fan, among many other things. And today we're going to be talking about the legendary Hannah Montana. Joe, how's it going? What have you been up to?
Hey Sage, thanks for having me back. I've been great. It's been great. It's been a busy, busy year. So many fun, exciting new things going on.
Amazing. Yes. And I mean, for anyone who hasn't listened, Joe has been on the show before. We talked about Spice Girl dolls. So if you haven't checked that out, please do. But for those who haven't listened, Joe, tell me what you do. Tell me about your collecting life. Just give me let's give them a little synopsis of your life.
Okay, so I am a massive Spice Girls fan since the very beginning. Well, the US beginning, I always say. So, beginning of 1997, I started collecting just, the different CDs and singles back then. And then that led into the dolls later when they came out. And again, I've collected for over 25 years now. So, I have one of the world's largest collections of Spice Girl memorabilia. It like basically fills a whole floor of my house. So
And then
yeah,
some.
and then some. True, there's not enough room. But I've always been a big toy fan, a doll collector especially. I mean, growing up, I was so fortunate that my parents, my grandparents, they just allowed me to have whatever I wanted to play with. So growing up, I had tons of Barbies, cupcake dolls. I mean, just really any doll you could think of. And then, Spice Girls obviously came about. I have tons of those. And then Britney, and I have tons of Britney dolls, as we've talked about. Sadly, I don't
Yes.
have room to display all of them. And then I got really into Monster High at the beginning of that. So,
And
yeah,
Hannah Montana.
and Hannah Montana. I mean, we can't forget about the Queen, Hannah Montana.
Yes. So you, like you said, you have a whole floor on your house that is dedicated to Spice Girls merchandise. And there was a little bit of an accident, or tell me about that and where the Spice Room is at right now.
Yes. So shortly after we had recorded our last episode last year, I had a flood in the bathroom that's downstairs. Thankfully, it was not like gross sewage water or anything, but just a pipe that got backed up, water flooded. It flooded out into the carpeting, into the room, and it caused a huge mess. So thankfully, only one item got damaged. Unfortunately, that item was a one of a kind. I haven't seen anyone else with it, like Spice Girls Chupa Chups Lollipop floor display. But it could have been much, much worse. So I am very grateful for that. But yeah, I went through a 6-month process of renovating it, going through insurance claims to get the work done and all of that. So a few months ago, I finally got it all set back up, and it's so great to have it all back, and it's all shiny and new. So yeah, that was a headache that I don't ever want to deal with again.
Oh
And
God.
it was so much. And I was just, again, like looking at all these other collections I have, which sadly I don't have room to display. And I really just sat there thinking, maybe we don't need all of this stuff anymore. Maybe just focus on
Oh.
one thing. But, but yeah, so it was hectic. It was crazy. But I'm so glad that's over with and it's all back to normal and it looks better than ever. So I love that so, so much.
It does, and you got it back together quick.
Yeah, we know I had been sitting there for months, like
Yeah,
waiting, and it was so frustrating, so anxiety producing. And I knew in my mind, I kept kind of putting in my head what I wanted it to look like as I put it back together. And of course, I told myself, like, I took tons of pictures as I was taking everything down, for insurance purposes, even. And I thought, I'm just going to put it all back how it was. I really liked how it was. But then when you have 6 months to sit there and reflect
right.
on it, I kept thinking, no, we're going to change this up a bit. And of course, no, I think like two shelves look like they did before. And I redid everything and moved so much stuff around. And yeah. But I was like, I want this done. I don't want to wait. Like, they brought my stuff back on a Thursday, and I had it done a week later.
Yeah. And it's a lot of
So
stuff. If you seriously, I
it's a
can't state that
lot.
enough.
Thousands of items. I mean, I think last time I counted, there was like over 4,000 individual items. I don't know.
Jeez,
It was a
amazing.
lot.
Amazing. But also, like, I don't know. That is definitely a very stressful situation, but I imagine it was at least a little bit fun to like go through it all and then put it all back just because it's like, I'm sure, I mean, your collection is so massive. I'm sure there's stuff. I mean, I guess you had to put it away at one point, but just to put it all back, I'm sure there was stuff you were like, I don't see this every day. Like, cool.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. I mean, going through it, I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot I had this. Or, oh, I forgot about this item, it sounds so crazy to say, but there are so many even little things that you
Right.
forget about. And when you have, you're trying to put this massive collection into certain shelvings and certain specifications, sometimes like stuff gets like laid on top of each other and you don't get to fully see it. So that was really cool. It was really exciting. I'm glad, like I said, that that's all behind me now. But
Right.
just like leading up to it, I was dreading it so much because I'm like, oh my God, it's so much work. But totally
Totally.
worth it. I loved it.
And it's all back together and it looks
And it's
amazing.
back and
So,
better than ever.
yes. So today we're talking about Hannah Montana. What's your Hannah Montana collection? Like, I have to ask.
Okay, so sadly, my Hannah Montana collection is nowhere near the Spice Girl collection.
Wow.
Um, I only have a handful of dolls over the years. Hannah came out at a time when I was like 21, 22, and like you've talked about with so many other people on this show, there's that gap in collecting.
Hmm.
And while the gap never happened with the Spice Girl stuff, there was the point in time, and it was around the beginning of Hannah, when I was trying to be cool. I had just turned 21 and I was going out with friends, and like,
Right.
so many people are like, oh, you don't need that. That's so dumb. And so, you're just trying to put on a front for people at the time that you're a lot cooler than, you think you are or whatever. But so I actually didn't buy a lot of Hannah over the years. Hannah, oddly enough for me, it's one of my biggest obsessions, one of my biggest loves, but it is also one of the only things that I don't have a lot of like physical merchandise for because I had control. So good job, me.
Well, for sure, good job, you, because Hannah Montana was fucking huge. And I mean, the
Massive.
amount of shit that you would have if you were I mean, I, Hannah Montana, I mean, and you love Miley Cyrus.
Love.
She is your girl.
She's my girl.
Um, Hannah Montana is just probably the biggest Disney franchise ever. And she came out when I was in high school, and I remember I too was a little bit like, am I too old for this? But like, I'm obsessed with it. So I wouldn't say in 2024 I'm a huge Miley Cyrus fan. I don't like, I don't fall on the floor if she does something crazy or whatever, but I do like her. And I really, really, really liked Hannah Montana and especially some of those first Miley Cyrus albums. Obviously, I respect her so much. She's iconic. She will be around forever. But Hannah Montana came out and it was right off of the High School Musical stuff, right? Or was it reversed?
Correct. Yeah, so High School Musical came out about, I think, 3 months before Hannah
Okay.
did. But Disney really, I mean, obviously Hannah had already been in production. But after the success of that, it was like they wanted to get it out there. Like the night Hannah premiered, they sandwiched it between the premiere of Cowbells, which was Ali and AJ's
Allie and
movie,
AJ.
and then more Disney royalty. And then they did High School Musical right after. And it had like a premiere of 5.4 million viewers that night, which was the highest for any new series on the network at that time. And then later on, when High School Musical 2 premiered, it had like a lead in with Hannah in a Jonas Brothers episode, and it had
Mm.
like 10.7 million views, which is insane for Disney Channel.
Right.
So
And I mean, she also got a movie too, which is just like, and I really think like I was a big Hillary Duff fan during this era. It was kind of, I
I don't
mean,
know her.
you don't, but there's kind of a time, obviously Britney Spears and Madonna have always been my favorites. I would say Britney leads the way just a little bit because I got to
Mhm.
experience her full, catapult into fame or whatever you want to say. But there was a time where I was really into Hillary Duff, and unfortunately, going back now, I'm kind of like, wow, no wonder like my, no wonder like my aunts and uncles and my grandpa they were not trying to hear Hillary Duff music or anything. They just thought she was the worst, and she has her own place, but. I really loved Hillary Duff, and I think that was really their first big Disney Channel's first big like music break in was with Hillary Duff. But then you get
Mhm.
Miley Cyrus, and I distinctly remember thinking about when Hannah Montana came out. It was very like I couldn't. Obviously, this girl Miley Cyrus, she was like 12, like so
Yeah.
young and tiny, and I just remember being like, honestly, like Disney didn't set their expectations very high with Hillary Duff, and I think for someone like Miley Cyrus, I think it actually took Disney a minute to be like, oh wait, this girl's like uber talented. We don't need to like. Yeah, I remember definitely hearing some of those first Hannah Montana songs and being like, it's just like another Hillary Duff situation where it's like, is this singing real? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. So I just read a fantastic book. It just recently came out. It's called Disney High by Ashley Spencer. So if anyone's a Disney Channel fan out there, growing up in the early 2000s, highly recommend this book. But it talks specifically about, kind of the rise of the Disney Channel as we know it. And it talks about Hilary Duff, Lizzie McGuire, obviously Hannah Montana. And, with Lizzie McGuire, they wanted to really push Hollywood records,
Right.
which is part, of that Disney family. And at the time, there was Walt Disney Records and Hollywood, which there still is. But Hollywood, they wanted to be a big deal record label, but they were struggling. So once Hilary Duff came along, there were a lot of ambitions with her management, her parents, it sounded like, even with her, to be a pop star and have a singer. So they thought, okay, well, let's see if we can launch her music, which they were able to. And that was kind of Hollywood Records' first big deal. And so when they went into the development of Hannah Montana, they truly wanted to market it as something that was going to push Hollywood Records, Walt Disney, Disney Channel, and Miley as an individual performer, all, in one thing. So it definitely was part of it. And this is something very interesting that I want to bring up because, obviously you're a Britney person and we love Britney.
Yes.
But in that book, they talked a lot about the influence of Britney on Hannah Montana. So Disney Channel, really kind of took off in the late 90s with their in concert specials. So,
Mm-hmm.
with NSYNC, and I mean, they had Britney had hers, Backstreet had theirs later on, so many people. But, Britney was really kind of America's sweetheart for that, those few years there.
Oh yes.
So one of the Hannah creators had said, Disney was very eager come 2004 to create a series based on like a fictionalized pop star because, there was so much success with the Cheetah Girls as a
Right.
group. American Idol was huge at the time in the country, as was Britney Spears. However, he said Britney Spears wasn't really a family friendly entity anymore
Nope.
because this is in the Zone era. So they specifically in the book mention, her and Madonna kissing at the VMAs and how parents didn't see her as an ideal role model any longer. So Disney wanted to create their version of a Britney Spears that was going to be, family friendly and wholesome and all that good stuff. So that was kind of at the core of the creation of Hannah Montana. And a lot of people had like came up with the different ideas for this, double life secret pop star person. But it was really kind of trying to fill that gap that Britney kind of left for that younger audience at that time that really drove them to create the show. So good old Britney.
And I mean, they did a fantastic job. I can't stress
They
enough.
did.
I mean, I definitely think of Cheetah Girls, High School Musical, a little bit of Jonas Brothers. I know there's a little bit of a, right there, a little gap. But I just remember all of these things blowing up at once. And it was like you could not escape Hannah Montana, Cheetah Girls, High School Musical. I think for like 3 of my high school years, I definitely had school supplies where I was like, oh my God. Jesse McCartney was another one that I loved, which I
Oh,
cannot
Jesse.
look back at. I'm like, oh my God. I wanted to be him and Zac Efron. I based my whole look in high school off of them, down to the puka shells. Okay. Anyway, but you couldn't escape this shit. It was everywhere. They took this Disney took this and ran.
They really did, and they were so smart for doing so because between High School Musical and Hannah Montana, which were their two biggest properties at the time, between 2007 and 2008, they went from seeing 450 million in like merchandise sales to 2.2 billion by
Jesus.
2008, just because of those two brands. I mean, by 2008, Hannah Montana was a $1 billion brand, which was
Of
insane.
course. And I mean, just how smart. I mean, they turned Hannah Montana into also a touring act. She toured as Hannah Montana. Have I ever showed you my picture with Miley Cyrus?
No.
I have not. Oh, I'll have to get it out. It's like a real picture, like not,
Oh,
So
jealous.
Hannah Montana came here with the Cheetah Girls, and it was right when Hannah Montana, like she was singing songs off that very first. She
Hmm.
was Hannah.
Yeah.
There was no Meet
No
Miley
Miley
Cyrus.
yet.
There was nothing. She came out in a blonde wig and a blonde wig only. When we did the meet and greet, I don't even remember how I got the meet and greet passes, but I was very deep in like the Disney fan forums back then, especially when it came to Hilary Duff, because I was a stan. And somehow I got meet and greet packages or whatever. And I remember she came to meet us and she was Miley. And it was very like, oh, like I didn't expect it just because the whole time she was Hannah Montana or whatever. But then, as you said, this shit blew up so fast. She came back around like maybe less than a year later. And
Mhm.
she went from doing this like a bigger size theater with the Cheetah Girls. I mean, it was sold out to coming here headlining as Hannah Montana in our biggest arena that we have here, and tickets sold out in like 2 minutes. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
There was an article I was reading the other day, just doing my research on this because I'm very OCD about having all the facts. But even they talked about this in that Disney High book that the Hannah Montana concert is, I guess, equivalent now to what eras would have been with Taylor Swift at the time, where there was all these investigations into Ticketmaster because
Yeah.
so many brokers snatched those tickets up for those concerts and were reselling them at insanely high amounts. And so that's why Miley was actually one of the first artists when she toured again in 2009 for her Wonder World tour. She was one of the first acts that used the paperless tickets to help beat the
Mm.
scalpers. So she, I
It was
guess, was
crazy.
partly, yeah, like she was helping like revolutionize, like changing the ticketing scene. So
Well,
crazy. The impact of Hannah.
and just Miley Cyrus. I mean, I think I even remember my grand. We used to watch Hannah Montana. She thought it was so great, and I remember my grandma being like, "That girl's gonna be a star," like, and she Miley Cyrus. I'm serious. Like, she is one of those like once in a generation artists. I would definitely 100%, especially now, call her an artist. Miley Cyrus is like Madonna. I think she is the closest equivalent to Madonna that we have right now because she's always changing it up. Miley Cyrus, and you can tell she loves being a musician, which is so
Yes.
crazy and brings me back to my point because when Disney started this, I don't know that they had all that much faith in her, but then once it started, really, it just blew up. I mean,
Yeah.
you can even hear I before we recorded, I did put on a little Hannah Montana playlist, and I
Little
was like,
warm up
oh my
music.
God, like I can't like I remember all these songs. You can even tell through with the Hannah Montana music how much they started really like leaning into her artistry and creativity. Like it's insane. But with all of this going on, she has Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana has a extremely successful doll line. And I had a ton of them. I did, there was a time in my life where I wasn't like always buying dolls, but like I was on a competition cheerleading team. We traveled a lot and I'd always get a new doll for wherever we were going. And for a lot of those, like probably like six or seven of them, I got Hannah Montana dolls. I'll never forget one time the boys on my team played a little prank on me and they took my Hannah Montana doll and they cut all her fucking hair off, like broke
Oh
her legs
no.
off, and then like hung her in the shower. And I like, okay, this isn't as mean as it sounds. Like I had a lot of them. Like it was fine and it made me laugh, but I just remember getting in the shower and being like, ah,
Well, they were just giving you an idea for an early customized wrecking ball, Hannah.
maybe, but I had a lot of them because I was just like, oh, I mean, I went with the craze, like it was crazy, and you could truly get the Hannah Montana doll is something that I really compare with Britney Spears, and we'll talk about a lot of those connections in just a second because there was just so many of them, and you could get one anywhere. You could get one anywhere you wanted. So I had a ton of them. Sadly, over the years, I've lost them. I could only find one, and she is Miley. I remember getting this one and being like, but she's not Hannah.
It's not a Hannah doll.
But let's get into the dolls. So tell us, Joe, why the Hannah Montana doll? Let's start with her connection to. Well, first, when did these come out? Right when, like, pretty quickly.
They came out pretty quickly. So they actually, not as quick as I would have thought, but they started coming out around the holidays of 2006. So here in the US, where we're at, Play Along or Jack's Pacific created our dolls here. Over in the UK, Mattel created theirs.
Okay.
So, the Mattel dolls look different, similar but different, very cool as well. But yeah, late 2006, they came out here. A lot of the same people, being that it was Play Along, that worked on the Britney dolls and also the Spice Girl dolls, worked
Yeah.
on the Hannah dolls.
And you can tell, like, I don't, it's just something with it. It's like, well, first of all, I'm fairly sure, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but these are the same bodies as Britney, right?
Yes, so the early dolls, like kind of the first wave ones that came out, had the Britney Spice Girl like bent arm doll body. They
Hmm.
later on changed them a bit. They actually shortened the doll down probably about like half an inch because the normal ones are your standard 11 and a half inch.
Right.
And these seem to be about half an inch shorter later on. They're
Oh
a
my
little
God,
more
her outfit
petite.
is so
Say
cute.
this is the movie Let's Get Crazy doll. I love this
Oh,
one. But they made her a little more petite because again, we're dealing with a 12-year-old girl. And, the full size, like the Britney doll body, it just obviously doesn't translate like a 12-year-old girl. So they gave her a bit more of a petite body. They slimmed everything down. So I believe these have, no, not as much articulation. I think a few you can bend the elbows a little, but they're just a smaller doll. But yes, originally they were the Britney Spice Girl bodies.
of course, this is I mean, such a major company. And I know they've changed names and, switched around a couple people. But one thing I will say about when I'm out hunting at the thrift stores for Britney dolls, a lot of the time, because at this point, like I see a Britney doll from a mile away, like I can just tell. And a lot of the times I'll see a Hannah Montana one and be like, oh,
Uh,
close, very close,
almost.
almost. And it happens quite frequently, and I see them a lot because these dolls sold a shit ton. So
So many.
I think you told me once that the Hannah Montana doll is character wise, this is the phrasing that is a little bit difficult. So when we're talking about the best selling celebrity dolls of all time, I would not count Hannah Montana in this because Hannah Montana is a fictional character. But let's say we were, if we were counting Hannah Montana as a celebrity doll, she would definitely have outsold Spice Girls, Britney Spears, Mary Kate and Ashley, all of them, right? So because these made just shit tons of money.
Tons of them. I don't know. So I don't know specific numbers on it. I was actually given the Hannah information by our dear friend Adam Weatherly,
Hmm.
um, the Spice Girl dolls on Instagram, if
Shout
you want to
out.
follow. So Hannah, yes, is character doll. She wouldn't be considered celebrity because, like you said, she is a fictional character, but she is the top selling character doll of all time. I don't know numbers wise where that would be next to like the Spice Girls or something, but I would probably say it is a safe bet they're right up there neck and neck. Just being that it's a Disney property and
Hmm.
anything Disney tends to really move and sell. But yeah, she's up there. I mean, within that play along line, I counted this out. I was trying to count them all.
Oh
And I
God.
believe there are 99 dolls in total. There could be 100. It might be an even 100. I don't know. But I counted 99 different dolls for just the play along line.
Every outfit, I mean, they did everything for this doll. And that's where also it obviously relates to Britney and Spice Girls, is they did so many different costumes. And each time you would have to buy a whole brand new doll to get a new costume for the did Hannah Montana have fashion packs or anything?
No, there were no fashion packs. So I'm trying to remember the verbiage on this exactly. But one of the creators that worked on the Spice Girl dolls that also worked on Britney and on Hannah had said something like they considered fashion packs like grandma toys or grandma presents or something like that, I think is
Mm,
what the term was, because it was something that people normally wouldn't buy. That, people usually see this shiny doll on the thing and they want that, not a
right.
fashion pack. So fashion packs, I guess, don't typically sell that well. So I just don't think the people that worked on these were really that interested in fashion packs with it. They were just going for the whole new thing.
Okay, I just did a Britney deep dive, and honestly, I had no business doing that without like your full approval. I don't know what I was thinking, but they did a few. Some company did a few fashion packs of Britney doll stuff too, and I know there was maybe a couple Spice Girl things. I don't know if those were official, right? Tell me.
Yes, they were official. So the Spice Girl ones, they did have the Spice World fashion packs. It was an interesting thing because they were kind of testing the idea of even doing the outfits individually for each girl or selling them as a four pack, which is what ultimately ended up happening. I believe they were only available through FAO Schwartz or the Galoob website at the time. They weren't sold anywhere else, but they later turned around and put those outfits on the second series of Spice It Up dolls. It included that separate outfit in there. So there were two different sets. And then with Britney, Play Along put out budget versions of the outfits as Pop Diva fashion sold through
Hmm.
Big Lots. And
Right.
they came out simultaneously as the dolls were coming out. But like you were talking about in your deep dive, like they were unfinished versions of them just to cut the budget down, and they were like $1, $3 each, something really cheap, and now they're insanely expensive. But
I know.
then what you boom did a few fashion packs. So
Yeah. Well, obviously these toy companies, they want to make as much money as possible. So like, yeah, you're going to put out 99 Hannah Montana dolls. Most of these are going to sell pretty well, but
yeah,
it is something I wish they would have utilized the fashion pack wise with all of these dolls that we're talking about. Cause like, oh my God, our lives would have been so much easier.
so
But
much.
also like, I feel like we might still have been like, no, I'll just get the doll,
Yeah, get the doll with
you
it.
know?
I will say I don't remember. So again, I don't have a ton of these dolls, which is sad to say. I know a lot about them because I spent so much time looking at them over all the years, and I keep like I said, almost pulling the trigger on buying a lot of them. But I'm like, no, you don't have space.
You don't.
I don't. But it was funny because I remember during the time of Hannah Montana, I I was being too cool for school to watch Disney Channel in 2006. But my brother, with his friends' kids, was watching Hannah Montana. And he's a few years younger than me. And he's like, you need to watch the show. You would love it. And I would just give him such crap and I'd make fun of him. I'm like, oh, Hannah Montana is your girlfriend, blah, 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 blah. So I like bought him a poster for his birthday just as like a gag gift that year. And it's like, haha. But then I ended up watching the show actually that night that High School Musical 2 premiered because I was hanging out with friends getting ready to go out and we had it on. And I was like, okay, I really like this girl. So from then on, I started really looking at stuff. And I remember being in Target and looking at, they have the concert stage with the dolls. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. I wish they had done this for Britney. I wish they had done this for the Spice Girls. Do I want this? But no, I was too cool for all that and was going out and shopping at Nordstrom and spending money elsewhere and
That's
having
the
my
time you
doll
do
gap.
it.
But
That's the time you do that kind of
yeah,
thing. Okay, they also okay, another connection. Isn't the tour bus they have for Hannah Montana the same one that they did for Britney? They just repurposed
it
it.
is. Just repurposed it. Same tour bus.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I
Yep.
saw it and I was like, wait a minute. But doll brands do that frequently. It's just so funny because I, celebrity wise, these dolls just bleed into each other, really. It's crazy. Cause
Mhm.
like Cheetah Girls too, I'm pretty sure they have the same body mold as Britney,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And if it works, it works. But the Hannah Montana shit was just out of this world. So you said internationally Mattel, so none of the play along dolls were released, or whatever, Jack Specific, whatever you want to call it, were
Yeah.
released overseas or anything.
No, so none of those were released overseas. They got
Hmm.
Mattel, and I believe there were about 20 different dolls overall. They had their normal fashion dolls, they did a play set, and they did a set for the movie as well over there. And like I said, they look similar to our dolls, but different. They definitely have more of a, I don't want to say generic, but they have more of like a standard like Mattel Barbie face.
Okay.
So they're not as like sculpted to look like our play along dolls that we have. But they were actually designed by Oscar Moreno, who created Larvae, the teenage fashion maggot. So
Oh,
he worked for Mattel, so he designed all of the dolls for the UK for the Mattel line of Hannah dolls.
okay. Do you know who sculpted the American ones, the play along ones?
I don't. I was trying to find that information out.
I mean, I don't. I will say the consistency of her head is way more hard than Britney. Um, I think by this time they were printing things a little bit different. They were doing a little bit more screen printing than they were doing
Mhm.
on Britney, because this doll's eyes are definitely not in the right
Yeah.
spot,
Yeah.
which I'm just now noticing. But so crazy. And $99, I can't even. And like I said, I'm sure they were all selling so well.
Yeah, I don't, I was looking at them at the time while I was not buying, I was looking, and I honestly don't remember seeing that many of them go on clearance even.
Mm.
I mean, there's very few that I remember seeing actually sitting there on clearance over the years.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember that. I know though that I had a singing one that sang to me. I had a
Hmm.
Christmas one.
Yeah.
Um and because I think we went to nationals during it was like almost the holiday season, so I got a Christmas Hannah
Well,
Montana
see,
doll.
that's what was really cool. So for 2008 and 2009, they did holiday pop star dolls. So they'd be similar to like a holiday Barbie. And in 2008, there were three different versions of the holiday pop star. There was a budget version in a small slim box, which she is behind me here, one somewhere. She's in like a little short skirt and a little fuzzy jacket and
Hmm.
little leggings. And then there was the main version that they had. And does
Mine
she sing?
sang, mine sang
Yes,
rocking around the
Rocking on the
Christmas
Christmas
tree.
Tree.
Yeah.
She sings, so she's in like a long white, like floor length coat, like a sparkly, it almost looks like the Slave for You pants,
Mm.
like that, like metallic denim. So cool. But then there was a Toys R Us exclusive version that was a gold version of the long white outfit. It was a shorter coat, but it was gold. I believe it sung Walk Around the Christmas Tree as well and had an ornament with it, as did the other one. And then in
Yeah.
2009, they put out another version that looked more like the season three Hannah.
I do know that I was looking and I was like, these changed. These changed like the way
Yep.
she looked. So got it.
They did. That was one cool thing with it. I mean, over the years, with Britney or Spice Girls, we can kind of go by, the eras of the albums. But again, being a fictional character with a TV show, you go by seasons kind of.
Hmm.
So, like the early dolls were the season one dolls, and then the bulk of the line came from kind of that season two era, which ran for like a year and a half on Disney Channel. It was a very long season because it did so well. And then kind of later on, there was obviously the movie line of dolls, which came out around the same time as season three. And that was like
Okay.
2009. There weren't as many like season three dolls, but those definitely had, more of an updated fashion to them. Obviously, that's when I feel like the face sculpt changed a little tiny bit. It looked a little more like teen looking, maybe, than like the first few that were more just like a softer, more youthful face sculpt. And
It's
then yeah, and
something.
then there was something. And then there was like the Hannah Montana Forever dolls that came out at the end, and there were only three of those that they made
Okay.
for that final season, and they were all store exclusives.
Okay. Your shining thing is that exclusives. You're all about the exclusives. You know your shit when it comes to that. That's something when I was doing my Britney my look into my Britney dolls, I didn't even think about it because, like, duh, of course, like stores are gonna get exclusive pieces, and you know a lot about that, and I love it because it's like that's a lot to remember.
It's, well, like I was
Not
telling
you being
you,
like J.C. Penney exclusive,
JCPenney
only
exclusive for
J.C.
this one.
Penney.
Only Kmart had this one. No, it's so true though. I mean, again, you see it with so many lines over the years. I don't know, my best friend collects Barbie, and back in like around the 50th anniversary, back in 2009, when she got like really deep back into it after her gap of not collecting stuff, I would go out with her, and I think like the Barbie collector catalogs we would get in the mail would deem them treasure hunt dolls when they'd be exclusive to different places like that. And we would go all around to the different stores trying to find these exclusives. So, but as a kid growing up, I think I was telling you with the Britney dolls, there was this seller on eBay that I would follow, and they would sell things as a pre-order. I never bought from them. I just followed them. But they would say like, this new range of dolls, Britney, for instance, when they did the Slim Box video performance for Slave for You and Not a Girl, those three came out like in a lot together. And I
Hmm.
remember it being like, these are Walmart exclusive. So I knew I needed to go to Walmart and start looking for these dolls. And then back in the day, we had JCPenney and Sears would send out these giant, thick Christmas catalogs for, you old people out there like me who remember those
Yeah,
print
I
things.
do. I do.
I mean, I just did get an Amazon toy catalog in the mail yesterday. So I guess maybe it's not totally obsolete. But yeah, there's just a lot of store exclusives. And like at the end of the Hannah run with Hannah Montana Forever, there was a Toys R Us exclusive that was like a mix and match set. So it was the Hannah doll, and then it had three outfits with it, I believe. The one she was wearing and two others. And then Target got just slim box basic exclusive. They called it Pop Star Couture. And there were two dolls. And those three were the whole run for Hannah Montana Forever.
And when did they stop releasing Hannah Montana dolls?
So they stopped around 2011, about the same time
Okay.
the show ended. I was thinking the other day I was looking this up too because there was the Disney VIP dolls, and that was kind of the last doll appearance we saw of Hannah. She was in the first wave with Sharpay and Alex Russo. So, all Disney icons. But those came out, I believe, summer of 2011. So I guess that would officially be our last Hannah Montana doll.
Interesting. So that's what, like 2006 is when they started, right?
Six is when they started, 11 when they ended.
Well, that's longer than Britney was
Yeah.
having dolls, so that's pretty cool. Gosh, it's so annoying how you can't just look up like numbers like that. Like it's not like an album where you can look up how much, her what's that one album, Can't Be Tamed. You can't, I mean, you can look
Yeah.
it up and it'll tell you approximately at least how much it sold. You can't really do that with dolls. And I've always just been like, I want to see numbers because like you and I have talked about privately, there's just some numbers that are getting thrown out there about certain dolls that I'm like, there's just no fucking way.
Yeah, I mean, I do know some numbers. What's hard with a lot of these sales things is companies keep this information very close because it can be used in a lot of different ways by competitors and such. So they don't necessarily broadcast. They'll give you generic, general numbers. But, my friend Adam and I, who together we have been working on a Spice Girl project for years. I talked about it last time I was on here. You've had Adam on your show as well. We have seen some of the numbers, and they definitely are outperforming the numbers we've heard from Mary Kate and Ashley. Um, Again, no shade against them. They
And
sold
like
great as
Mary Kate
well.
and Ashley dolls, I'm sure like Cheetah Girls, whatever, they're sold very well.
Very well.
You
They
know?
sold very well, yes. But no, it's really tricky and it is really hard with the numbers. And it would be nice just to see, where they
Yeah.
land.
I want to
So,
know. I want to know so bad because it's like they give you rough estimates, and it just, I mean, there's got to be somewhere where this information is stored. Like they all have what are the UPC codes? Like there's no way, like, this wasn't counted somehow. So it's just annoying. But
yeah.
I do believe that Hannah Montana would have been a very, very successful.
Oh,
I mean,
100%. I
they
mean,
were
easily she
everywhere.
would be in the top five
Oh,
of
for
the
sure. I got
best-selling
I
doll
got one of her
lines.
dolls at an airport once.
Yeah.
Like, you and the grocery store, anywhere you went, you could find a Hannah Montana doll. And it's just like shit. Like she was so, so successful. And obviously Miley has gone on to continue to be successful without Hannah Montana. But I mean, I'm sure her pockets were full because I mean, I had a Hannah Montana pillow. I had a toothbrush that sang. I had t-shirts, I had dolls, I had do you remember those like Life magazines? Not
Oh
Life,
yeah.
but like
Yeah, there
the
would be like those $10 magazines that would
yes,
feature, yeah.
I used to have all the Hillary Duff. I had Britney. Still have a couple of my Britney ones
I
because
say I
I
have
was
my
like,
Britney
I
one
am
still.
not touching those. But I had Hillary Duff, all of them, and I remember I had like 7 or 8 of the Miley Cyrus ones. And one day I cut out thousands of pictures, and I have a collage that I'm not kidding you. It's fucking huge. I'll have to show it to you because she was plastered all over the place. Like an entity like Hannah Montana could put out 8 to 10 magazines based on this one person and charge $10 for them because people would buy it. It's insane how
Yeah.
successful this was.
So successful. And Disney is so smart with their marketing. I remember, years ago, I've always been a massive Hocus Pocus fan, and they never did anything with that property. It was kind of like always the redheaded stepchild to Disney
Mm.
until they realized kind of its worth maybe 10 years ago now, and they started doing some merchandising for it. And so, being a huge Halloween fan, a huge Hocus Pocus fan, I started collecting that merch right away. And I remember someone saying to me, like, ooh, be careful because anything Disney, it's going to get oversaturated and will be literally everywhere.
Oh
In
yeah.
the Disney High book, they were talking about Disney wanting to create multiple touch points. And it was basically like what you said, like you want to be able to walk through a store and see Hannah here, Hannah there. You can get your Hannah toothbrush, you can get your Hannah grapes in the produce section, which were in fact a real
Yes.
thing. You could get your Hannah Montana dolls, you get your Hannah Montana shampoo, then get your bedding, your t-shirt, literally everything. They made Hannah Montana waffle makers. Like literally there's everything with a Hannah Montana logo on it. You could have a full Hannah Montana house.
It's kind of like I don't know. And what's so crazy to me is like, like just knowing, I mean, Miley Cyrus has been around forever. I think it's safe to say most of us who like follow her, we kind of know her personality. And I just like can't imagine what she thought about all of this when it was going on. Cause I do think Miley Cyrus is a very mature girl. And I think she
Yes.
was when she was Hannah as well. So there's just some of the songs I was listening to earlier and thinking about the merch and all that, where I could just see her being like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. We know she was earlier this year, she did a sit down with David Letterman for his show on Netflix. And he asked her about that, brought up the fact that, Hannah Montana was $1 billion brand. Did you realize how much power you had at that time? Because you are Hannah Montana. And she said, no, like at the time we were just in it. We didn't realize. And I think it's kind of that bubble you hear so many celebrities talk about where they're just part of it. It's like their job. They're just going and you don't see the scope,
Oh,
the
yeah.
magnitude of that success around it.
She probably never had 5 minutes to even think about it.
No. No, they were saying again, I cannot recommend this Disney High book enough. Everyone check
Not
it out.
sponsored.
Not sponsored at all, but like fantastic book. But yeah, they talked about that in there, how towards the middle to end of Hannah, she was so busy between being Miley Cyrus as well and all of her obligations as Miley and her obligations as Hannah, filming a TV show, touring, recording, doing all these press appearances. It was everywhere. And they finally like renegotiated a bit to give her Mondays off to where she wouldn't have to be at the table reads just to have a day for downtime because she was
Jesus.
so busy.
And she
So
was so
insane.
young. So young.
So young. I mean, she was 12 when they filmed the pilot. A
Jeez.
baby. A
A
baby.
baby. But what an iconic just she's 99 dolls.
Yeah,
I wonder if she has any of those still or if she
I
like burnt
know.
them.
Well, I remember back during COVID, every day she was doing an Instagram live called Bright Minded, I believe. I think they're all still archived on her YouTube channel. But I remember people asking her, do you have the Hannah wig still? Because one of the days she came out wearing the Ashley O wig on the show, the purple
Oh.
wig, and she said, "Yes, I have a lot of my Hannah stuff in storage."
Mm.
So I'm sure she has some laying around. Most of the people have their stuff. The
I
Spice
would for
Girls have their
sure.
dolls.
Yeah, I would for sure. I'm sure it's something she can look back on and laugh about. But also, like, I'm like, no, bitch, you were such a big deal, though.
Such a big deal.
So obviously Miley Cyrus. I mean, well, first of all, let's just talk a little bit more about the dolls. I know you said you don't have. Is there any of them that you're like, I really want this one?
I mean, there's so many. I really would love the Hannah VIP doll because I think she's really cute. They were a little shorter, smaller. They kind of had like Monster High like bodies and big
Mm.
heads with rooted lashes and all of that. She is so incredibly expensive. I think there's like one that's just loose on eBay right now for $500.
Oh,
But I remember seeing her on the shelf, and there was a fashion pack for that. They did make VIP fashion packs for Sharpay, Hannah, and Alex. Um,
for those of you who don't know, Sharpay is Ashley Tisdale, Alex Russo is Selena
Selena
Gomez,
Gomez, again,
and
icons.
I love how you call them by their character names because I call all these dolls by their actual their
Well,
given their real name.
yes, typically I do too when I'm going through, but it's like, again, I research and prep for all this stuff, and I was going through, and I'm like, okay, well, technically it was an Alex Russo doll, not a Selena Gomez.
Right.
But yes, I would love that one. I would really, really love. So again, they made everything within the play along line for these dolls. The most amazing thing is they did a massive Malibu beach house playset. So it
Oh,
is a full dollhouse that is, Miley's house in the show. And it like expands to over like 3 feet wide. It's huge. It has all the furniture with it that looks like her furniture in the show. Like even has the cool like little leg table that would sit in the back. So cool. And then there was a version of it like with the Britney buses that came with an exclusive doll. And the doll I think just wore like a basic black dress that said like Girls Rock or something like that. But I remember seeing it at Toys R Us, and it was like, gosh, this I think was actually 2009. So I was there with my friend Barbie shopping, and they had one, and it was like on clearance for $79, and I almost bought it. But my friend is like, "Where are you going to put it?" Like literally the box. I don't know if it would have fit in my trunk, but
jeez.
it was massive. But I would love, love, love to have that, and then just have it like displayed in all the Hannahs and Miley's and Lily's and Lola's all sitting around it.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned like the rarity because we haven't really talked about that. I mean, I think for the most part, most of the Hannah Montana dolls from Play Along at least are pretty. You can get them for a reasonable price. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for the most part, they're pretty good. The season three dolls are the rare ones. They
Okay.
don't really pop up on eBay that often. Again, most of those were store exclusives between Walmart, Target, Toys R Us. There were like I think like around 10 dolls made at that
Okay.
time. And they're pretty iconic Hannah outfits. I mean, one of them is the yellow zebra print top with the pleated skirt and the combat boots. It's a singing doll. There's the one that's behind me here. This is one of my favorites. It was a season three doll. This one you can find a little more.
Oh,
So
she's so
this is
cute.
like this is the dream dress, which I love this so much. But this is the doll where she has a scalp that flips around and you can flip it over and she becomes Miley with the brown hair.
Whoa.
This one is not as rare. It goes for a little more. You can sometimes get it for a good deal, but the other season three dolls are pretty rare and expensive if you see them. There's also the one that's like in the hot pink zebra top with like the white pants. I think they say Dream or something like that on it, or Supergirl. Again, really rare for those. The Hannah Montana Forever dolls, they do pop up, but they usually go for a decent amount of money because they weren't out all that long. So, like most, like with the Britney dolls, with the Spice Girl dolls, the later run dolls are the more rare, expensive, hard to find
Right.
ones.
Right. Because they just did less
As far as
quantities.
as far as Mattel goes, I mean, it seems you can pick those up for pretty decent prices. They're just coming from Europe and the UK, so you're paying all the shipping on it and the conversion fees.
Which can add up. And did Disney Store do one too?
Disney Store did dolls as well, yes. There were four Disney Store exclusives. They're not my favorite. They're a little 10-inch doll, and I don't know, they're interesting looking to me. They remind me of like a Tinkerbell doll or something. Like they don't really look like Hannah or Miley. But they did one for the first season that's her in like just a long silver tunicky top with the short black leggings and the scarf. And then they did two movie ones. There was like the Hannah Montana movie closet, which was actually really cool because it had a few of the outfits from the movies that the play along dolls didn't get. And it had like a little closet set inside the box with it. And then they did Miley in blue jeans, her horse, is another gift set.
Oh,
And then they did a season 3 one of Miley in kind of that iconic, like meshy pink bubble dress that was on a lot of the merch promos for season 3 stuff. Um, yeah, they're cute. They don't seem to pop up. I mean, you see the movie ones, but that season 3 one you don't see that often.
interesting. You know, I was looking through some stuff and I actually did a custom Miley Cyrus or Hannah Montana doll once that I totally forgot about. It was so random. Like, generally, there's been a few people who have bought, something else besides Britney for me. And I don't usually post that or anything just because the algorithms get all messed up and it's like people are here for the Britney dolls. They don't really care.
Yeah.
Which is what's nice about this podcast because I can talk about other things. But it's the one of her. And I remember the person being very specific. They paid for the doll because they wanted a later one
Mhm.
and sent it to me. And it's the one where she's in a black skirt that's like got patchwork all over it. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a black dress, but you can barely see the black because she's got different color, like shapes all over. It's like pink
Oh,
and
yeah.
blue and yellow. And
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I totally forgot about it until I was prepping for this podcast.
This
But
dress
yeah, literally, yes.
on my shirt right now.
Perfect. I mean, just to wrap it up about that, like, I mean, everything you could imagine and more, and obviously the rarity, just like Britney and Spice, there are some that are going to be more expensive than the others. I
Yeah.
definitely had the one where it's from like the intro of the show where she's wearing the scarf and like I think like a green top is it a green top or
Yep, like a
green
green
pant?
tank
Yeah,
top. Yep.
and like a jacket, and
Yep.
she has the scarf and. I couldn't find her though, and I'm so bummed. If I was gonna rebuy one, that's the one I would get because I remember being like, "This
Yeah,
is
that's the
Hannah."
outfit.
Yeah.
And they also did Ashton Drake dolls of her. So she
Oh,
had like a
really?
16-inch vinyl doll as well. You know, it was really cool. They retailed for like $150,
Mm.
but it was her kind of in that season 2 outfit of like the Meet Miley Cyrus Hannah Montana season 2 album cover.
Mm.
It's her in that outfit, but then it had a different wig, so you could switch out the blonde wig for a brunette wig, and it had a Miley outfit with it, and it had different feet, so you could have a heeled foot or a flat foot. And then
Nice.
allegedly they made fashion packs for that doll, but I don't think they ever actually came out because
Hmm.
I've never seen them anywhere. But they were some movie outfits. They were again a season 3 outfit. So I don't know that those ever came out. But Ashton Drake made the doll, and then they also had giant like 22-inch dolls that were just like they weren't quite singing dolls. They had like a little singing microphone with them, but they retail for about $40, and there were two of them, and they were wearing outfits she wore on that first Best of Both Worlds concert tour, like the pink trench coat look and then the
Yes.
black striped sequin look. And so
Oh
they
my
were just these
God.
big tall dolls.
Oh my gosh. I did not know that. So I mean, nothing. Do they have little mini ones?
There are no mini Hannahs, sadly.
Oh,
I know. They
what
went
the
big for
hell?
Hannah, not small.
Okay, interesting. Which one's your favorite of all time?
I mean, I really, really, like I said, love that switching one in the dream
Yeah, that's
dress that
so
goes from
cool.
the. That's like one of my favorite Hannah outfits. I love that doll so much. I also love it's part of a 2-pack for the movie line, and it's her and Travis from the movie, Lucas Till, and she's in like that white and blue. It reminds me of like a teacup print. It's
Okay,
like a
yep.
fluffier bubble dress. I love that doll as well.
Yeah, I think I saw that one when I was just looking at these. Oh, there was something I was going to say about. Oh, so also, I mean, they had Hannah Montana and Miley dolls. You could get her in either way, but they
Mhm.
also did her friends too.
Yeah, they did her friends. So I counted this out again. So of all the Hannah Montana play along dolls, there were 60 Hannah Montanas. They made 16 Miley dolls, so just Miley Stewart. There were six Lola dolls, which Lola is her friend Lily's alter ego when she's undercover with Hannah. They made 10 Lily dolls, five Oliver dolls. You got one Jake doll, the incredible
Oh.
Jake Ryan Zombie Slayer, and the Travis doll.
Oh, so
And
they
that's
didn't do
all
her
part of
dad.
the
No dad.
no Billy Ray, no Bobby Ray,
Oh well. Oh, I'm Bobby Ray.
none of that.
Oh my God, this is so random, but I was watching one of my comfort shows is The Nanny.
Hmm.
And there the other night I was watching just some because I have like the DVDs. I was being old school, okay? Because I couldn't find anywhere to stream it, but I was like, all right, well I have the DVDs. And there was an episode where Billy Ray Cyrus is suddenly there, and I was like, what? Hello, just so funny. So my next question would be: should Miley Cyrus get an updated doll? Oh, I mean, for what do you tell me your thoughts on that, and I'll tell you mine.
Okay, so I would like maybe if they did like a Mattel Women of Rock line of her, I think that'd be really cool. The hard part would be what era of Miley do you go with? Because she's had so many iconic looks over the years. I mean, we've had the short hair bangers, Wrecking Ball, We Can't Stop, Twerking at the VMAs look. We have the Plastic Hearts mullet era, which was so chic. We had kind of the She's Coming, Mother's Daughter, which is that like rocker chic look to it as well. I mean, where do you go for a Hannah doll or for a Miley doll?
Right, Miley.
Miley, not Hannah.
So I agree. I think that right now is not the time. I do think eventually, though, I don't know when. It could be 10 years down the road. It could be 20. I don't know. I think eventually Miley Cyrus will get like a iconic doll line of I just have a feeling that she seems like the type of person that would go for that. And like you said, there's just so much, and she's got so much more to do, you
So
know?
much more.
I could see them doing five or six like a ways down the road, people, because I'm telling you, Miley Cyrus will be around forever. She's not going, she will be performing until till the end. I'm sure of it. So I think eventually one day she could make a really iconic, a full set.
Oh, for sure. It's interesting though, because I look at Miley and I compare her to other artists we're seeing right now. And when they release a new album, there's doing like 15 to 16 different vinyl pressings and a new CD release every
Mhm.
other week and adding one song to it. And they're going kind of after this cash grab all the time. But with Miley, she seems to be more focused on the art and the music of it. And, we get maybe one release of something. There's not
Right.
oversaturation of merch and flooding and all these other deals out there. So, yeah, it would be interesting to see if Miley would go for something like that. I think it would have to be very special for
I
Miley to
agree.
go for it.
I agree. Are you a Taylor Swift fan?
No.
Okay, me either. Sorry, everyone else.
Sorry, everyone.
That's
Sorry, not
where just
sorry.
talking about that's kind of where it's like I'm not a super big fan of Miley like in now. Like I listen to her songs if they're on, whatever, but I'm not checking up on her all the time, you know. But something I do really appreciate about her is what you just said, where it's like Miley Cyrus has a new record out. I'm gonna go buy it and that's it. Where it's like I can't go into any corner of Target and not see Taylor Swift. And it's just like becoming so nauseating at this point and just all the variants and all that shit. Like it's too much for me. It's not classy. I think Miley Cyrus, that's what separates her from others. Not to say Taylor Swift isn't a musician, because I think she is very talented, but it's just like she also clearly cares about all the stuff that I just think is super superficial. And you know what? She has a really ugly doll, so it's whatever. Like Taylor Swift has probably one of the worst celebrity dolls I've ever seen.
I vaguely remember the Taylor Swift dolls because I felt for like the longest time, and this is not accurate, but I thought there was a Taylor Swift doll in the Hannah Montana movie line since she does show up in the movie. But that's not the case. I vaguely remember her doll. I will
It's not
say,
cute.
like, I give Taylor kudos. I'm not the hugest fan. I've had a long history with Taylor Swift and different people in my life, but I give her kudos. She's very talented and she's a very smart businesswoman and knows what she's doing. But I think it's just kind of the way the industry has gone with
Oh
this
yeah.
mass marketing everywhere because you're seeing it now with, Olivia Rodrigo, Sabrina Carpenter. I mean, same type of things playing out with everyone. And, I've gone for it. So I think Miley is kind of one of those rarities right now where it is so truly about the art and about her fans, and it's not about the dollar and the money. And it's really refreshing to see. I really love that about her.
Yeah, me too. It's not, she's not pushing it in my face. You know what I mean? And it's just
Hmm.
like, whatever. Anyway, I know everyone else in the whole world is a Taylor Swift fan, Swifties, whatever you call yourselves. Good for you. I can't get into it. Joe, just a couple more things. Obviously Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus were both big, big music stars. What is your favorite Hannah Montana song and what is your favorite Miley Cyrus song?
Okay, so that's so tough to just narrow it down to one. But
I
if I
know.
have to narrow down to one Hannah Montana song, it is going to be If We Were a Movie from the season one
Oh,
soundtrack. I love that song so much. I play it all the time. There's also like a version of her with Corbin Blue from High School Musical on it, and I hate that version. No offense to Corbin, because I love Corbin, but I love the original If We Were a Movie. I just think it's that hopeless romantic in me. I'm like, I just love this song. It's so sweet.
oh,
And
that
it's
is a
so
cute one.
catchy. And it's really sad that like that's not one of the bigger songs that like she's performed it live, but like she didn't perform that on the Best of Both Worlds tour or anything like that. So justice for If We Were a Movie.
Yes, yes. I like the one she did with David Archuleta. It's not my favorite, but that one's really cute, I
Oh, that's a
think.
good one too.
Yeah. But what's your favorite Miley Cyrus song? And I know that's even more to.
Okay, so this is tough, but this is also an easy answer, and this is gonna sound like a really cheesy answer. But I am gonna go with Flowers.
Wow.
So for me, Flowers came out at a time in my life where I was doing a lot of self-discovery, a lot of self-work. I mean, this was just last year, but finding my own worth. And for so long, I relied on so many other people for approval in my life and, my happiness. And I was finally getting to that place where I'm like, I can do this on my own. And then Flowers came out. And I remember the marketing leading up to it. They
Hmm.
had the little things where it said like Happy New Year's because it went with her New Year's special. And it's like, I can blank better than you can or whatever. And I remember like hearing that song for the first time. And after listening to the lyrics, I'm like, oh my God, this is so in line with where I'm at in life right now. And it's been so huge for me. I mean, it was my number one song on Spotify last year, and I'm guarantee it's going to be number one on my Wrapped again this year. I listen to it over and over again. It makes me happy. I love the messaging of it. Her voice sounds so beautiful on it. And I mean, she got her first Grammy from it. And that was such an amazing moment that after all these years, that was her first Grammy
Right.
with all the hits she has and the amazing things. So again, cheesy as it might sound, I'm going to go with Flowers. But I mean, her catalog is so amazing. There are so many songs I could go for.
I agree. For my Hannah Montana choice, I went with, and I think you mentioned it earlier, and I was like, oh, is Let's Get Crazy. I
Yes.
love that bop. But
Such a good
I
one.
also love Who Said, and I like the one with David Archuleta a lot. And as for Miley, in a perfect world, I would pick Liberty Walk, but I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't pick Liberty Walk because that song is literally cursed for me. I got two speeding tickets in a summer, the only speeding tickets I've ever gotten in my whole life, knock on wood. And both times when I got pulled over, I was listening to Liberty Walk. I'm dead ass
No.
serious. So I was like, I can't, like, this song is cursed. So I'm going to go with See You Again.
See You Again. I mean, that's definitely like top three for me.
So good.
So, so good.
And I know it's not her. I know it's not her at her like most artistic level, but it's a certified bop.
Oh, I mean, that's like always on for me. That's like one of the ones I put on in the morning when I'm getting ready for work to get pumped up. Like there's the Rock Mafia remix of it it's like a bonus track on the Breakout album. And oh, that it goes off. I love it so much.
I also really like Two More Lonely People.
That's a great song. Who Owns My Heart? The
Yeah,
whole
can't.
Can't Be Tamed
Yeah, that
album is
album is her
fantastic.
best, in my opinion, is her best. I remember really loving them all. Um, And Bangers just reminds me of college, like my drunkest days. So I don't like, I probably couldn't sing along with it, but I'd
Yeah.
be like, oh yeah, like,
Oh, I mean, like it was so hard because I was trying to think about this earlier, like what would those options be? And Bangers is a fantastic album. I love it. There's so many great songs. I mean, Drive on there,
mm,
FU is a fantastic song.
I like the round and around and
Yeah, 4 by
around.
4 love
Yeah.
that. Oh my gosh, Plastic Hearts, though,
It's good.
I think that is a pretty flawless album, start to finish. Golden G String is not my favorite, but fantastic album. Never Be Me is probably my second favorite Hannah or Miley song. I keep saying Hannah. I never say Hannah, but I'm
It's
on the Hannah
okay.
mood for this episode. But yeah, Never Be Me, Never Be Me is my second favorite Miley song. It's just so beautiful. I love it. Then See You Again is probably number 3.
Yeah, she's got a lot of good ones. And I don't know, I put on a Miley Cyrus playlist or Hannah Montana, and a lot of Miley Cyrus songs were playing. And I was like, wow, like these
Oh,
are
we
all
can't
pretty
forget
good.
Ashley O. She charted
No.
as a third fictional character,
Oh my
well, a second
God.
fictional character, but under a third name with On a Roll in 2019.
Is that the Hey I'm a Ho song?
Yeah, from Black Mirror.
Oh, I watched that once and I felt really uncomfortable for obvious reasons. Like
Yeah.
very cryptic, but like not even very right there for you
Yeah.
to
Oh,
look
yeah.
at. So, Joe, one last thing. So, you can talk about this however much you want, but obviously your Spice Girls collection is insane. You've got it all. I want to, and you're talking about how you have no more space. I want to know, like, what are the other things that you really were like that I have to have all? Like, you have an amazing collection that deserves to be seen, and it's not just Spice Girls. You've got tons of Britney dolls.
Tons of Britneys. Yeah, so like I said, I've always been a collector my whole life, and there's far too many things. I mean, I still have all my Beanie Babies from back in the Beanie Baby craze. Those are all in the garage because I feel like stuffed animals have feelings and I can't get rid of them.
They do.
They totally do. So that's traumatizing. I can't get rid of them ever. But no, so I have Britney Spears as well, like you said.
Are all of your Britney dolls in their box still?
They're new in box, yeah. So when I
Bitch.
first got my first Britney dolls, I opened like maybe the first 5 or 6 and played with. And then there was like the switch in me that's like, no, we need to keep these like pristine and mint. But I'm only missing, I think, without variations included unboxing and this and that, I think I'm only actually missing 5 Britney dolls altogether.
Nice.
So there's part of me that keeps debating if I have space to display them, do I open them all? Because then if they're open and loose on the shelf, I just need to get those 5 and then I have all of them. Um, but I don't think I could do that. So it would like kill me to open those boxes after, 20 some years of them being
Yeah.
perfect. But yeah, so no, I have Britney. Again, I love Halloween and all things spooky, so I have quite a sizable Hocus Pocus collection.
Did you get the new Hocus Pocus dolls that just came out?
I did not. I'm also a Monster High fan too.
Mm.
But I did not. Again, I'm trying to have control in my wiser elder years,
You got to
approaching 40,
sometimes.
that,
Yeah.
I don't need everything. So, no, I have Hocus Pocus. I love Goosebumps books. Those were again one of my early things. So I have, a large Goosebump books collection. I have Power Rangers. I have, like I said, Monster High. I went crazy when Monster High first came out, and for the first like 2 years, I bought everything and pretty much in
Jeez.
duplicate. So I'd have one to display and one in the box. And then thankfully, I sold a lot of those back like in 2013 when the market was still good on them. That's the only collectible I've ever actually sold.
Oh,
But I
really?
kept a lot of my loose ones. I've kept those, so I have a lot of Monster High. Like I said, I don't have a huge Hannah collection, but I have a decent amount of Hannah stuff laying around. Um, yeah, there's
Just all the
more,
goods, all the
probably
goods.
more. But Spice Girls is really, it's truly the thing that I have done nonstop without ever having a gap. And again, I just, you look at people in your life, that your idols and your role models, and those 5 women are so much a part of who I am today. Just what they taught me to be and the authenticity and be myself. And I just their music is phenomenal and just I love them so much. So that collection is a part of me.
It always goes back to Spice.
It always
It
does. And
always
like I said,
does.
Britney too. Like
Yeah.
Britney, I mean, so much of my growing up was like focused on her as well. And I love Britney so much. But yeah, and then there's, like I said, then there's Miley. And for the last, 20 years, I've watched her grow up and followed her
Right.
career. And I've just loved the artist she's become, the person she's become. And yeah,
Yeah, she really is just so fantastic. She'll just, even when I'm not into it, I'm still like, yeah, but you go, girl.
so you get
Like,
it.
I'm still like, yes, Miley Cyrus, like
You
you
tell them
do
at the
it.
Grammys, don't act like you don't know
Yes.
this
And
song.
that was such a her thing to do. And I was like,
I love her
yes.
so much.
She is really, really amazing. So, Joe, thank you so much for doing this again with me. I always have the best time with you. I know your shit, and it's just always so much. I always learned so much from you. Also, big shout out to you because you did help me quite a bit with my Britney deep dive because that was a lot to go through. But tell everyone where they can find you on the internet so they can see all your incredible stuff.
All right. So you can follow me on Instagram at spice_room. That is my spice collection, and you can check that all out there. And then I guess if you want to follow my personal account, it's at RockstarJC, but it's RockStarJC.
Amazing. Everyone, please go follow Joe. I promise. You, there's been days where I've just spent my whole time scrolling because I'm like, I can't even believe this exists and he has it. It's incredible. So thank you so much. And I'm gonna have to have you back on again and again and again because there's just
Yes, I would
so much
love
fun
to.
stuff we can talk about. So thank you so much and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Yay. Thanks, Joe, as always, for coming on the show. I always have such a blast with you. As you guys could tell, I'm sure Joe loves himself some Hannah Montana and Miley, so I couldn't think of anyone better to have on the show for that. So thank you again. Thank you guys all so much for listening. I am still editing the last episodes of the year, so I really don't know what one will come out next week, but I will have a new episode out next week, so stay tuned for that. It's so funny. All of the episodes from this fall were recorded and finished at the end of the summer, except for these last three, and I definitely procrastinated majorly, but it's fine. Please follow me on all my social medias. If you want to be on the show, please reach out. I would love to talk dolls with you. Leave me a 5-star rating and a nice review, and I will see you guys next time.